How to develop or have an aggressive wrestler. I hear this all the time. It's one of the number one things I get calls on when people are looking at coming to our wrestling camps here in Missouri or our academy. They'll say, my son or daughter is not aggressive. What can I do? It drives me nuts. So I always say this: I can run aggressively, I can hit, I can kick a soccer ball aggressively, but I can't do a round off back handspring on the balance beam aggressively. Why? Because that is a highly skilled maneuver. So wrestling is not a raw sport. Now, I'm not knocking football or soccer. Well, even soccer is very skilled. You try to dribble the ball aggressively through the defenders. I mean, that takes a lot of skill, right? But when you're just looking at, being aggressive on the baseball field, being aggressive on the football field, the guy with the ball and I'm running them down and I'm tackling them. I mean, that's sort of easier to do aggressively than maybe a floor routine in gymnastics. Wrestling's kind of like that. And I use that analogy all the time because I see wrestling as a skill sport, just like I do gymnastics. It's interesting. We always say in America, wrestling's 90% mental. And that kind of has it's 90% toughness connotation. And it's 90% just who wants it more. And that is a key aspect in all walks of life. But, if you really look at it, if I want to bench press 250 pounds today, I can't do it. It doesn't matter how hard I try or how much I want it. And if I don't do it, which I can't, it's not because I didn't have the heart or the desire or I need to get tougher or I just have to want it more. That's what we hear a lot when kids lose. You didn't want it bad enough. Well, and I'm like, dude, I watched the same match you did. Your athlete really, had 4 front headlocks and didn't have a clue how to score. Never got to his or her feet one time in the second period. The opponent was, from my standpoint, a pretty average leg rider, and yet they rode your wrestler out and turned him twice. So sometimes it's not just about want to and who wants it more and being aggressive or being tough. But that's what we learn a lot in wrestling in America. But if you look at the Russians, they'll say wrestling's 90% technique, 5% mental, 5% physical. Who knows who's right? I'm in probably no position to decide. I guess everyone's different. I think for some wrestlers this is true. For some wrestlers this is true. For some of us, we're probably right there in the middle. But as far as being aggressively, I think that the best way to get your wrestler to be very skilled in wrestling is simply this: they have to be very well drilled. Now in wrestling, there's thousands of wrestling techniques. So let's just say this is kind of what we call foundation, right? We use it all the time. Foundation wrestling. So the foundation, just drill the foundation. Forget all the stuff. You don't want to do a counter to a counter to a counter to a Russian 2-on-1. That's a waste of drill time. Do you have the 6 best stand-ups in wrestling? Have you hit, and I'm not exaggerating, have you hit 1,500 reps of all 6 of those best stand-ups in the sport of wrestling? If not, then that's why you're not aggressive. It's very simple, So that's number one, is to get the skills of wrestling. But wrestling's too big. You want it to get smaller and master the core aspects of wrestling. Let's say the 6 best stand-ups in wrestling. What are the 3 best ways to get out of a front headlock? Write it on a piece of paper and then hit 600 of those each, in the next 10 days. 60 a day for 10 days and get it done. Now your level of aggressiveness is going to soar. So lack of skills as a big part of it. Now also keep in mind that, I got my notes here. Another aspect is just your general personality. Some kids are a little, some kids are confrontational, They might be the, you see boxing and MMA and wrestling. Now, a lot of that's for show, too, especially in MMA. They're trying to, they get paid to act and to antagonize each other and whatever. But some of us are more aggressive, and some of us are not. So your personality has a big part to do with it as well. And so the kids who are maybe not the street fighter type of a kid, which is about 98% of us, they're going to be the more skilled technical wrestler. Don't try to make an apple tree bear oranges. It's not going to. If you look at a lot of the Olympic champs and NCAA champs and the NCAA All-Americans, A lot of them are not the beat you up type of wrestler, but it seems like we have this vision in our head, like, I want my team or my wrestler to wrestle this way. Why? 98% of the athletes out there don't just try to beat people up. They're smart, technical, and I mean, if you look at, it's 2017, so if you look at someone like David Taylor, I mean, he's very skilled. If he gets a wrist, he puts people on their back. If he gets a front headlock, he gets points. So, and I'm really I really like Penn State and what they've done for wrestling over the past 8 or 10 years, just because they're starting to open up people's eyes to wrestling as a skill sport. And that's something that, I was an Oklahoma State wrestler, and that's the Oklahoma State way. Not that fighting and toughness isn't part of everybody's style, but, at Oklahoma State, it was drill, 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 drill. I mean, relentless drilling, and from all of the core positions. And then the second and third and fourth layer of the foundation, right? It's like a pyramid. You drill up here, too. But, I mean, you're at Oklahoma State. Everyone's, high school national champs and whatnot that gets to go there. So that's a different practice than what you're going to have in your high school room, or probably even most college programs in the beginning stages of these athletes' careers. But I just like it because, growing up, that's what my brother and I did. We would go months without live wrestling because we would fight. We had every wrestling move and technique written down on a piece of paper, and we'd flip through our notebook, and we literally drilled 5 days a week for a decade. That's what we did. And our goal was just to become dangerous. We used to say, I'm going to be the most dangerous kid on the mat. We used to say that to each other. I want to be dangerous, And he was an NCAA champion. I was All-American. And so we had a decent wrestling careers back in the 90s. And I do think that that's the number one reason we got to leave the state of Missouri, which wasn't very good back then, and wrestle at Oklahoma State, was because people saw that, hey, these kids are skilled, And so I would encourage you to take that approach, and you're going to see their level of aggressiveness soar if you do that. And, get them excited about being dangerous. For me, it's exciting. If I can take a grown man's back or arm and put it behind his back against his will, and use that hammerlock and turn him to his back against his will and hold him on his back as long as I want to me, that's pretty powerful. I would much rather be able to do that than be tough and make someone tired. I've never really gotten that. So, anyway, so I think the Penn State approach, Oklahoma State approach is the best. And, also understand that the personalities of your kids, so, if your kid's more of a normal person and they're not really a confrontational kind of a headbanger type of a wrestler, they say, hey, you're a smart, technical, tactical wrestler. We need to get you into a place where you can get very, very, very skilled, and we're going to just take Nick's advice. We're going to take wrestling as a skilled, mastery, technical approach, and if you do that, you're going to see a completely different wrestler. And, sometimes in wrestling, we're not aggressive because there's sticking points. So I might be aggressive, to get to the leg, but then I stop. Well, that's the technique area. So you say, be more aggressive when you get to the leg. Well, why don't you, find the best 3 ways to finish that single leg when someone sprawls on their back, make them hit it 1,000 times, and then those little stopping points, they're unsure areas or areas where we're not skilled. So that's the reason we're not always aggressive too. It always comes back in my mindset to lack of drill time, lack of skill time. So keep that approach, and hopefully that helps some of you. On YouTube, hit the subscribe button, and come check us out at purlerwrestling.com. It's 2017, and all of our camps are full besides 2. So if anybody's interested in training with us, you got about, it's not much more time before everything's going to be closed down. So I'm just a heads up there. But looking forward to seeing a lot of you at camp this summer, and good luck.